It's a beautiful morning here at Crazed Performance Repair. We are continuing this concrete project. Boy, has it become a project since the last video I made. Wow. Let's just say I had to dig a slight hole, a little bigger than planned. I ran into a few issues, and I'm addressing them as I come up with them. It's an old place. It's an old building. I'm going to have problems. It's expected. Just what are those problems going to be? Well, let's go over a few of those problems and get started with this video. First things first, we have a skid loader. I finally got my skid loader here. I did borrow somebody's in the meantime, but this old school Bobcat here is going to be doing a lot of work for me. So you can see it's pretty old, tattered, weathered. It's been around the block a few times. It's seen its better days, but it still works, still runs, still does the job. And it was affordable. That's the more important thing to me, that it works and is affordable. So for now, I can use this guy, get everything I need to get done. Then we may actually do a video where I go into detail on trying to fix this thing up a little bit, because I'm going to need to fix it up a little bit. I want to take care of some things. I mean, the paint is a minor issue. I noticed some loose pins. I had to grease up a bunch of pins. I did notice a bunch of loose pins. Now, on to something else. Here is the project that I am doing, and it is insanely deep, insanely big issues, and we have a lot to consider, so get a little more light on the subject. I upgraded my lighting, got some bigger lights. Don't know if I remember mentioning that in the last video. There's an old foundation. That is the original foundation for the original building back when this was first built. That section right there came all the way across the floor here, up to there and tied there. This additional wall, as suspected, is all added on, and this concrete down here is all new. However, if you look over here, you can see they did not put this foundation very deep. So this is more like a floating slab, not a foundation. That's like a mini foundation, if even a foundation, more a floating slab. And then over here, it's actually like a foundation. You can see I have a very thick wall here. That's almost 3 feet. If I had a tape measure handy, I'd measure it quick. Oh, there's one. Let's go see what this actually is, height-wise. I think it's almost 3 feet worth of concrete there. Well, not quite 3 feet. It's a little taller than what the tape measure is showing, 31 inches there. So a couple inches under 3 feet probably on this section here. Now, if you go over here, you can see I already have a bunch of rebar work tied in and stuff. The bottom of the foundation right there, that is actually the bottom of that section there. It does get a little bit lower as it comes over here, not by much, but that is the lowest part of this wall. This is that back wall. And if I did not have a form sitting in place there, it starts out there and slowly goes up until it meets up with that section there. And you can see the dirt versus the concrete right there. And this section here is only, 14 inches worth? So a much thinner slab over here than what is on the other side over there. Now, on the outside of the property, this side over here, the dirt level is almost to the top of that concrete, and then there's a little bit of rock on top of that. So it's pretty much flush with the concrete level. And then on this side over here, there's a little bit of a drop down and then another slab that goes about that height, and then this goes below the ground on there. So winter comes along, it's going to freeze, it's going to manipulate and move this piece a lot because it's so close to the surface. And this, it's not going to do much with because it does go about 1.5 feet underground. This one only goes 1 foot underground, and it's not very solid. We can see there are a few cracks here, a little dry rot in the wood, which I'll address later. But you see that crack right there? So that crack right there is not a big issue, honestly. So you can see I have rebar right there and right there going into the concrete. I'm going to be adding a little bit down on the bottom here. And you can see where I drill, actually that's from that one. There's a hole right there. That's an additional hole. I have to drill a couple more holes in here, but I need to avoid those cracks. My plan here is to create a secondary foundation. So you can see I have the form kind of starting to come around here. I'm going to come around this side, but before I do, I want to take the skid loader and trench this out for some rock because I need to add a sub pump down here. I'm going to have some serious water issues due to the hill that's on that side unless I put a lot of rock underneath here. I can't go under the foundation because I do not want to disturb that clay. If I disturb that clay, I'm going to have more foundation issues than I ever planned on, and I might have this roof on my head. I don't think so, but I don't want to take that risk. So we have over here, you can see I got a bunch of rebar piled in here. I don't know how well, there we go, now the camera picks it up. And I'm going to be doing, see the bar there? That's coming around and up there. And this is to add strength between the foundation and the slab. So the slab over here, foundation over here. This section here, I got to tie into and around here. So I have some rebar that makes the corner. There we go. You can see the rebar making the corner there and goes around and continues on. And then of course that rebar goes all the way through here. And I skipped the rebar reinforcement on from about here over to about here as a cutout because that floor in there is lower than what this doorway is. I'm going to take this doorway later and I'm going to drop it down. I might actually take this form and right out the gate, I'm going to create a little drop down right here because I don't want to have this doorway that big. Once this foundation is done, I'm going to cut out the old concrete and then throw this door down a little bit lower, increase that header, drop it down, and bring this whole door down so it's easier to get into that room because this floor is going to be only this tall. It's only going to be up here. I'm going to be adding a ton of floor to ceiling space right here. Now, what else do we have for surprises and issues? Another thing I have to address with this whole wall scenario is the fact that that wall right there does not have equal studs. Somebody added this roof with trusses after this building was built and after this foundation was done. When I peeled up all this dirt here, there was a spot about here and then a little bit further back, basically right where I'm standing, where there was bricks going 3 bricks deep for a post that went up to the center of that. Of course, they filled that post hole with concrete, and so it was no longer in use. The problems that causes is when they did this roof, they made this roof level. They did not address the foundation or the walls. So, prime example is actually, and hopefully we can catch this on video, the GoPro distorts things, and in editing I correct the fact that the outside sections of this whole video clip are going to be all funny shaped because of the lens that's on a GoPro. But I do correct it in my software, so hopefully we'll get a good video. In fact, I'll go ahead and give myself a nice level screen right here so that I can try and correct it. What I'll do in the video is I'll try and correct the bow that's right here. And I'll in fact show what the GoPro does here. And that bow there. But this spot is level. And if you look closely, you can see this spot does not match that spot. Hopefully you can see that. The studs over here are much shorter and they get longer as they come along here. And they're much longer over here because this chunk of concrete is sloping down like this. And that's no good. Now the floor is also sloping up because I have not peeled enough dirt out of this area yet, or clay I should say, out of this area. This is like a black clay that's here. But I need to make this wall, this retaining or additional foundation wall, so that it is level. So I got to get my laser levels out, set up a level line, set up this wall, make the wall level. And when I do that wall, I'm going to then, later on down the road, add an additional wall to the outside, or inside technically, inside of this, and put it on the new slab, which is level. When I do that, I can then take and remove all these rotting boards from the outside. All I got to do is pull the tin off, remove the rotting boards, replace them with proper boards. I'm going to drop that ground level. In fact, you can see the rocks right there. You can see it's right up to the concrete. Once all this is fixed, this will be strong enough then. I can remove the ground level over there, drop it down a little bit, put my shipping container on the other side, and I can get everything all tied together the way I want. So I have quite the project ahead of me. And you can see I also have a hole, which I will explain in a little bit my plan there. But I'm also going to be putting a plan or a hole over on this side that's much smaller. So this hole over here is going to be for a sub pump. And like I was saying earlier, I have to dig this out as a trench right here. And that is all going to be for rock material. Basically, where the gravel to the wall is. That area, I want a little bit deeper, and I want rock inside there. And that rock is going to come all the way around. And then it's going to be even deeper in the front with rock. Come all the way around, go there, and then more rock going all the way along that wall. And that wall there and this wall are all going to drain to this corner, right? So everything's going to land right there. I'm going to have a bucket with a sub pump going there, pumping out and into the field. So this area is going to be my drain section. That has another idea. But before I explain that, we're going to go to a little bit of time lapse of me working the skid loader and cutting out some dirt. Now, this section here, we have the spot where I'm going to do an addition. And that is why I'm not going to put any rock right here. There's no need for rock here because that side later is going to have a roof. I might do a small amount right over in that corner because this building that's on there right now goes up like that, comes up, then goes down and comes down right here. This is all concrete on the other side, but this is dirt. And I actually took my garden hose the other day and ran it over in this corner just enough so that I could try and see where water comes in. And it does come in there and it does come in over here. So I'm going to go ahead and dig a little bit of rock here, not very deep, just enough to suffice until I add on to that building. And with that, we have the big hole. So this big hole here, it is going to be size worthy for a 55-gallon drum. Well, you know what? What the heck? There we go. Oh, look at all those mosquitoes. I don't know if you can see that. These mosquitoes, okay. This is actually kind of cool. So I noticed that the other day. I was in there, came in here in the morning. There's a bunch of mosquitoes. Before I had dug this hole, there was a bunch of mosquitoes in this corner and in that corner. Now, for those of you who don't know, South Dakota, Minnesota, the whole Midwest here is in quite a bit of a drought. We're having very little rain lately. So there was a bunch of mosquitoes in the corner, and I wanted to start this hole. I went to start this hole, and as soon as I took the shovel and took one dig into the dirt and plopped it up, the mosquitoes from over there came migrating over here. They're desperate for water. They weren't even interested in me. They were going after the water inside the dirt. And that kind of threw me for a loop. I never knew they would do such a thing. Leave a comment below. Have you ever seen that before? Where mosquitoes are attracted to the water in the dirt? Do you live in an area that's been dry enough to see that before? I've never seen that. They've always come after me, but this time they're going after the dirt, which is just bizarre to me. Anyway, so that hole is 55-gallon drum worthy. This hole here is going to get a big drum. I'm going to have a pipe that goes out that direction. Now, I tunneled that underneath the slab just a little bit so that later on when I go to do that additional building, I can tie into that. This is going to be my sewer system for in here. On the other side here, I'm planning on maybe doing like a future office or something. I'm going to need a bathroom, things like that. I really want to get water and plumbing into this place. So later on, that is actually going to get, given the proper things. But I do need a drain in the meantime. So this is going to be a dead-end pipe that does absolutely nothing for the time being. It's just going to be ready for the future. This drum here is going to be in the future, oil-water separator. For now, it is going to have probably a sub pump of some sort in there that I turn on with a switch when I notice the drum is full and pump the water out and over. Since I don't have to worry about bathroom things in here, I'm not too concerned about it at the moment just being a drum that pumps out with a sub pump. There's going to be a pipe that goes from here all the way to about the middle of the floor over here. And then I have a drain trough sitting right here that I plan on putting in. Now this drain trough is a plastic one, yes, and it does have a plastic grate because the metal ones rot away, I guess. So this grate is supposed to support a ton of weight, and I'll tell you what, it is pretty heavy duty, and I do believe them. I'm not a big fan of plastic, but in this case, I think it works, especially if I can find replacement grates later on when the time comes. And I could always put a metal grate in place of this later on if I have to build one and I can't get one. Because you and I both know this is probably from China. Just because everything comes from China, unless you really look hard. I did not look to see where this is made. I did not care. It's just a plastic trough. I just wanted to get it in there and make sure it's strong enough. I was more concerned about strength than where it was made in this particular scenario. So I checked all the load ratings. I should be able to roll engines, transmissions, stuff like that, whatever's on an engine stand over top of that or an engine hoist, and it won't break. So that's why I selected that particular one. And it's going to go in here. Now, I'm still debating whether I want to lay it this way or this way. I'm leaning towards going this direction. I think that'd be more ideal. So what's going to happen as far as the hoist goes is we have these rafters here. I was hoping I could get 12 feet out of the ceiling to floor, but I can't quite get 12 feet. What I can do is get 12 feet from the top of the joist to the floor. Now, the hoist requires like 11 foot 9 inches or something like that. And so it's going to be really close, but it is probably going to poke into the ceiling a little bit. So I'm going to have to do like a little mini vault in there, but it'll be kind of nice because that mini vault will make it so that that little sensor lever is actually right at ceiling height. So it'll literally be like a flush looking situation where that hoist bar that comes across is flush with the ceiling, which will be really cool. And then I'm going to have two hoists. There's going to be a post, and then over here there's going to be a post and a post. And I'll have the two hoists staggered a little bit to make this whole situation work. But all in all, the plan is get some concrete poured and get all this stuff into place here.